guys, Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
UFC 295 live from Madison Square Garden. Yes, they're back in New York. Doesn't get much bigger than that, right? Unfortunately, this card won't have the main event, right? The fight that was supposed to be focused around, right? The John Jones return against Stipe due to the leg injury. So Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira gets moved up to the main event. In comes Aspinall versus Pavlich, which personally I think is a better fight overall, right? I thought John Jones probably would just roll in that fight. Maybe not as easy as he did against Gane, but I do think John Jones win that fight fairly easy. Aspinall Pavlich, flip of a coin. You don't really know what's going to happen. I'll be breaking down both those fights along with the main card like usual. Client card will be available Friday after weigh-ins. Systemsportscapping.com is the website, or link.me/systemcapping. Remember, I don't just handicap the UFC, guys. Currently handicapping UFC, PGA, NFL, NHL, and NBA as well. Let's do a UFC Sao Paulo recap in Brazil. Some shocking results, right? Some shocking results last week, to say the least. We did not have a profitable card. We had a plus 425 Dolby ticket cash as an underdog against Bonfim. We were on the Bonfim side. And also a plus 2200 ticket in the main event cash, guys, for the fight goes the distance. That I haven't been more shocked. You know, Dolby beating Bonfim, I wouldn't say I was shocked. It's an upset, of course. The line will tell you that. I thought Bonfim at 15-0, was a surging prospect. Fighting at home. Looked great in the first round. Keep in mind, Bonfim looked really good in the first round, won the round, and he gassed, right? And that's where I did mention even in the video last week, if Dolby's able to push into the second or third round, how will Bonfim look? We saw it. And great pressure from Dolby in that fight. The pressure was continuous. Didn't let Bonfim breathe. Big win for Dolby there, plus 425. If you were holding that ticket, salute to you. But what I really thought, obviously I knew Almeida was going to win the fight. No surprise there. But how he won the fight was very surprising by decision, guys. I was on him by submission. He probably at least had 6 or 7 different chokes on Lewis and couldn't get it done. Right? This is the first time Derek Lewis went all 5 rounds. Taking it on short notice, it was very shocking. I haven't been more shocked the fight goes the distance, I think, ever. Maybe there was one I can't recall, at least as of late, that I can recall. I haven't been more shocked of a fight going the distance. That was crazy. I thought for sure it would end quickly, maybe 1 or 2 rounds. But hey, credit to Lewis for having good defense on the ground. And Almeida didn't, I'm not going to say he didn't push for the finish because he did try to get the submission in multiple times, but limited ground and pound to stop the fight. I just think, maybe Lewis was a bit too strong for him, maybe on the ground. And hats off for the submission defense by Lewis, but he got dominated for 5 rounds. No secret about that, right? So I would like to see him maybe take some more chances. But I think when he's on the ground, the control, Almeida's control is very good. But I just like to see more from Almeida. And, I definitely thought he would get the submission at some point. Never came. A little strange there. Let's do a UFC record update. Let's do an update here. 2023, 65 and 36, 65% of the year. And guys, average line plus money. That's what's key here. The average line is plus money. These aren't big favorites that I'm betting. These are average line plus money. 70% 2-fight parlays on the year. It's 2-fight parlays. So we missed a 3-fight parlay last week, which is rare. I only had 3 3-fight parlays all year. That's when I really like favorites. 3, and I'll parlay them to get around even money. Not a thing I do often. I don't suggest to do it often. I only did it 3 times this year, going 2-1. And last week we won 2-1. The only fight we lost was the Bonfim fight, right? So we don't cash there. We lose that. It counts as one loss, 0-1 in a 3-5 parlay. So we're 2-1 on 3-5 parlays on the year, but 70% 2-5 parlays on the year. That's my bread and butter, guys. Long term, 70 units long term. Like this video, guys. Like this video. Comment on YouTube. If you're on or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please review it. I don't think they have the like button there, so it's a little different. Let's hear from my friend Kristen before we get into this card.
For you sports bettors out there, let's be honest, you probably need a little bit of help beating those books. System capping is a proven long-term winner against the sports betting market in multiple sports. He's built a worldwide clientele due to his high winning percentage over the years. Be sure to click the link on the bio down here to check out his profile, and you can also find out his resume, client comments, podcasts, and subscription opportunities. I'm going to be following him along too, so let's win some money together this season.
Shop around, guys. Shop around, shop around, shop around. Have multiple books. Have access to multiple books so you can get the best price out there. The best prop. Some books don't have some certain props. Have multiple books so you can profit the most when betting on the UFC. Like I mentioned, UFC is probably the most important to have multiple books. You know, NFL, not really, right? NBA, NHL, the prices are fairly similar around the market, right? Give or take, maybe, 0.5 here on some spreads at times. But it's not drastically different. In the UFC, I have seen it fairly different across the market. So try to have multiple books if you can. Let's get right into the main event. Prochazka plus 100 versus Pereira minus 128 interim title here. Anytime I see Yuri Prochazka at plus money, I have to really look into it. You don't see it often, right? So you get a little excited. So let me break it down here, see why maybe he is plus money, right? One, he's been off with a very bad shoulder injury, which could have ended his career. First fight back after that injury. So there's some concern there, right? Obviously, Pereira being very dangerous on the feet, right? Pereira has that knockout power. We have seen Prochazka rocked at times in multiple fights, but very durable, very tough. Guy continues to come forward even when he gets rocked. And we have seen it in multiple fights. Reyes, I think Glover also he got hurt, but he continues to take shots and walk forward like nothing happened. Right? Before the injury, I do think Yuri was one of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC, one of my favorite fighters to watch. Right? Very unpredictable on the feet, well-rounded. Not really a wrestling game, I would say. But if it gets down to the mat, good grappling and very strong on top, right? Glover saw that. He got submitted, right? Even though Yuri, from what I recall, did not take him down in the fight. I think Glover got him down, but Yuri was able to reverse it, which was very impressive. And, that was mainly due to, Glover tired. It was the 5th round. He's over 40, I get it. So Yuri was able to use his strength there and get the submission, which was very interesting. And I do think that will be Yuri's path here to try to make it an MMA fight. Right? Not make this a kickboxing striking fight. Even though Yuri is very difficult to handle on the feet due to his unpredictability, and the way he fights is very unorthodox. Pereira has never seen someone like Yuri before, and it's hard to mimic that, right? It's hard to bring in a guy that's going to fight like Yuri. Even though Glover, his training partner, has fought him already, it's still unpredictable how he's going to strike, guys. You cannot replicate that in the training room. It's just not possible, right? So Prochazka's path here, I think, again, he could hurt Pereira on the feet, right? We've seen Israel just do it a few fights ago, right? And I think Yuri has more power, right? Again, Pereira's moving up a division, right? Yes, he fought once and he didn't look great against Jan, right? Some people say Jan won that fight. I had Pereira slightly winning that fight. We were on Pereira to win that fight. But again, didn't look great at 205. I think he's a much better fighter at 185 in my opinion, because when he gets up to the 205, he's not the bigger guy, right? At 185, he is the bigger guy. Prochazka's a big boy. He's bigger than Glover in that fight. He is a big boy, right? Pereira's path to win this fight, in my opinion, I expect Yuri to have more volume. It's going to have to be catching Yuri with a big shot and finishing him, which is very possible. I get it. I get why he's favored here. I would have this more as a pick'em. -110, -110 is when I was doing the numbers. Now, if Yuri wasn't coming back from the surgery, I'd have Yuri fight. But he's coming back from that surgery, so there are a few unknowns, right? How hard was he able to train? There's a couple of things that have me concerned why I don't love Yuri here, even though I am going to bet Yuri, or at least play it here for video purposes. May make my client card as well, just due to the price, the +100. I do think Yuri is the more obviously experienced fighter. Yuri's on a 13-fight win streak, more than Pereira's fights in MMA, guys. Right? More than Pereira's fights. Pereira only has 10 fights, right? 10, 11 fights in MMA. Keep that in mind, guys. Yes, Pereira continues to get better in MMA. I do understand that. Very high on him as well. But when I look at these two and I see plus money beside Yuri's name, I have to pull the trigger if I were to bet this fight. I don't see this fight going all 5 rounds. I was shocked last week, so you never know, right? But if I had to bet that this fight would end in the first few rounds, in my opinion, both guys hit very hard. But wouldn't be shocked if it goes 5 rounds. But if I had to bet this fight is not going the distance, and most likely, I don't see it ending in the first round, but maybe second or third, we could see a stoppage here. I'm very excited for this fight. Very excited. I have this closer to 50-50, so this is why I see more line value with Prochazka. And I get why Pereira is a favorite due to, Prochazka coming back off the injury. And that does concern me a little bit, right? Pereira more active, been fighting a ton more. But Pereira, again, I don't have this as his weight class. Some of you may say, oh, he's big, he should be at this weight class. Sure, but when he is at this weight class, he's not the bigger guy, is what I'm trying to say here, right? So, Prochazka's path, in my opinion, should be make it an MMA fight, make it ugly, bring it to the cage, try to bring him down. Right, Prochazka's not known for taking down fights. I get it. He's 0.3 takedowns per 15. It's not great. He likes to fight on the feet, right? But my path is to mix it up, right? Use your grappling where he does have advantage. I do think Yuri does have an advantage if it could get there. The question is, can it get there? Right, that's the big question. And also the question here for Yuri is his defense is decent. Can it improve, right? His defense is not great. 40% and absorbs 5.4 strikes per minute. That's not great. And if Pereira is landing on Yuri, it could be night-night. Right? So I like the value here with Yuri. If I had to bet this fight, it's going to be Yuri. Very high on the guy. Just a little concern with the injury. And that's why if I do bet this fight for clients, it's not going to be a higher unit play. It just can't be. Right? You have close to a 50-50 fight and you have a concern about the longer layoff and coming off shoulder injury. So you got to understand that. So Yuri will be the play. Fight doesn't go the distance as well, I like. So yeah, you can find Yuri. But then the outcome, it's tough. Right? It could be a TKO for Yuri. It could be a knockout. It could be a submission at some point. And if the fight does make the judges, probably lean Yuri. Probably a little more active. Again, would I be surprised if Pereira just knocks out Yuri on the feet? A little bit, but I guess I would say no, because I do think that's his best path to win this fight is by knockout. If it gets the decision, I don't think he's as active as Yuri. So Pereira's path, in my opinion, would be a knockout TKO on the feet at some point during this fight. Excited for this one, guys. Very excited for that fight. Pavlich, -104 versus Aspinall, -122. Another close fight here. I have this as a -110 type of fight. Another interim title fight here. That's 5 rounds. These two saved the card, right? Like I mentioned, they saved this card. John Jones was supposed to fight Stipe. These guys took this on short notice. So hats off to them. And I'm more excited for this fight. I think this is a very competitive fight. Of course, it's a fight that could end early because both guys hit hard, right? Again, another fight I don't see going the distance. Both guys hit hard. Both guys heavyweights. Most of the time, heavyweight fights don't go 5 rounds. We saw what happened last week. But most of the time, I would say heavyweight fights don't go the 5 rounds, right? If you're betting it over time, you're going to profit of fights not going the 5 rounds. Very interesting fight, right? Both guys barely know what a second or third round is. Aspinall been to the second round once. Pavlich has never got out of the first round in the UFC, guys. 6 finishes, and his only loss, he has 1 loss in his debut to Overeem. That was interesting there. But his first fight, I get it. Aspinall once has been in the second round, and it was against a veteran Orlovsky, right? He was able to be a veteran in that fight and avoid it until Aspinall got the fight down to the ground and showed his submission skills. And that's what I love about Aspinall, very well-rounded. You know, another fight I have a hard time seeing go the distance, like I mentioned, someone's getting finished here, either by submission on the Aspinall side or a knockout from either guy. And that's why when I look at this fight, I do think Aspinall does have more paths to win this fight. A little worried about the short notice with him because he does mention he likes to have long training camps, which does concern me. But if there's a guy that could do it, it's Aspinall. Very confident in himself. He said he was going to be UFC champion just about 2 years ago. This is his time. Right? This is his chance right here. But Pavlich, very dangerous guy. And Aspinall continues to stress that. All last week of interviews that I've watched, I watch every interview he does. Stress. Very dangerous man, dangerous guy in the heavyweight division, and it's hard to, discredit that. Pavlich has that KO power. When he hits you, you go down. Very dangerous on the feet, right? But Aspinall, very good boxer as well. But the question is, how is Pavlich takedown defense going to look? How's his wrestling going to look? We don't really know. We don't really know, guys. All right, Aspinall, not really known to get fights down to the ground. He can wrestle, but where he shines is in the grappling. He's a high-level BJJ guy, right? So he's going to have a grappling advantage on Pavlich. Can he get the fight down to the ground? We don't know. We don't know that. I would love to see that attempt be there and Aspinall not just standing and banging with him. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see standing and banging with Pavlich. Very dangerous, even though Pavlich is very hittable. If you watch that Curtis Blades fight, Curtis Blades was piecing him up at times, but Pavlich was just taking the shots. Taking the shots, right? Taking the shots like nothing. Right? So the Aspinall, we have seen him be able to take fighters down, right? 3.7 takedowns per 15. He can get this fight down to the ground. If he does, I think the submission is live there. But again, Aspinall on short notice. Just same few concerns that I have on Prochazka, even though I am leaning Prochazka's side and am leaning Aspinall's side here. There are concerns, and when there are concerns, I don't bet. Either I won't bet it for clients, or it'll be a smaller unit play. Right? You have to be smart when there are concerns, and there's not a clear path for guys. Again, I have both these co-main and main event at fairly close to even money for both guys. But when I see Aspinall with an advantage on the ground, right, there's another path for him to win this fight. Pavlich, in my opinion, only path would be to knock him out. And he could do that very easily, guys. This is what he does, right? 5 first-round finishes in a row. Over a few good guys in there as well, right? So it's very difficult to be very confident in this fight that Aspinall is going to win. But I am going to have to look his way if I were to bet this fight. It would be ideal if he tries to make an MMA fight and not just stand and bang with Pavlich. Try to get this fight down to the ground. But can he? That's going to be the big question, right? And we're going to find out. I think Aspinall attempts to get the fight down to the ground at some point because there is a clear advantage there. On the feet, it's fairly even, guys, right? Aspinall may be a little better boxer due to his jab. Right, he has a good jab. If he uses that, maybe dances around. I think Aspinall is maybe slightly quicker on the feet as well. But Pavlich, again, has that eraser shot. He has that big shot to just KO you at any point. So that's what has me a little concerned here, right? And why I'm not running to the window to bet either of these guys. But lean's going to be Aspinall. I think he has another path to win this fight. Would I be surprised if he get knocked out early? No. So that's why this may not make my client card. If it does, it will be a smaller unit. This is where the card takes a little bit of a dive, but a couple good fights here. Dern minus 215 versus Andrade plus 164. Another fight I don't really agree with the price. I do think there is value here on Andrade, but I get why Dern is favorite. I get it. I have it more maybe Dern minus 150, minus maybe 160 on Dern. So again, value here with Andrade, but I am concerned a little bit with Andrade in our last 3 fights. Keep in mind though, these girls that Andrade is fading are, top of the food chain type of girls. Suarez, right, last time out. Jan and Blanchfield, which we've seen Blanchfield, could be the champion any day now. And that was on short notice. So I got to give her a little slack there, right? Because just 12 months ago, she looked like a world beater over Lauren Murphy, right? She looked outstanding in that fight. And she was getting some big wins over Lemos as well. So she had some big wins, but this was within the last year or two. Did she fall off a cliff that much from a year ago? Right, 3 losses in a row. You should have her extra motivated here in this fight as well. And she does have an advantage on the feet. High volume at just under 7 strikes landed per minute, where Dern is very low at 3.3. This fight all comes down to, can Dern get this fight down to the ground? There's no secret about that, guys. This fight gets down to the ground, right? Dern has a very high-level BJJ game. I think all you guys know that. If you're new to UFC, you're just listening to this for, betting purposes and try to win some free money. Dern is probably the best BJJ in the UFC. So if she's able to get this fight down to the ground, that's where she shines. And her striking is improving, guys. She showed against Angela Hill. Her striking is improving because she knows that her wrestling and takedowns aren't good enough. You know what her takedown accuracy is, guys? 15%. 15%. Right? And Andrade's takedown defense, 70%. Those numbers don't line up that I can say, yes, at minus 215, Dern's going to get this fight down to the ground and submit her. No. Not with those numbers. Of course, she could get the fight down to the ground. Or Andrade maybe takes the fight down to the ground and then Dern catches her. There's all those paths there, right? But this line isn't warranted in my opinion. Right? Again, Dern, yes, should be the favorite, I think, just due to the Andrade's possible 1 foot out the door. She's been around the block, guys. She's fought everybody. She's been champion. She's a little older now. So you got to understand that. Right? Dern, they're trying to build her up as much as possible. I do think she's improving from fight to fight. And that striking, like I mentioned, is getting better. But Andrade is still the better striker, more dangerous striker, and could hurt Dern on the feet. Right? Can Dern get the fight down to the ground is a big question, and that accuracy scares me. Right? So if you think you can just bet Dern confidently in this fight, I don't agree with that. Right? I don't agree that you can just throw Dern on a 2-fight parlay and she's gonna, get it done. No. There's dangers to this, right? Lots of dangers to this. This will not make my client card. If I had to bet this fight, I would have to take Andrade plus money, plus 164. That's high. Like if it's Andrade plus 120, plus 130, I'll probably say, there's no even point of doing it, right? Just stay away from the fight. But you're giving me plus 164, guys. Small unit shot, I wouldn't call you crazy. But the concerns with Andrade, like I mentioned, 1 foot out the door. Dern continuing to improve her striking. Maybe she could hang with Andrade on the feet. Gets a takedown. Possibly some control time. It's just that 15% accuracy on her takedowns. Andrade 70% takedown defense. Those numbers don't add up for a minus 215 favorite, guys. So fight goes the distance, very possible. Unless Dern probably gets a submission. Dern's tough, right? She can take shots. That's one thing I give her. Very hard to finish on the feet. So if Andrade does land some shots, I don't think Dern's just going to, fold up. So fight goes the distance is probably how it's going to look unless you see Dern submitting Andrade. But again, Dern's going to have to get the fight there. Interesting fight. See if Dern can take that big next step that she drastically needs for her career. St. Denis minus 245 versus Farola plus 186. I understand why Saint Denis is a 2-1 favorite. 245 a little high, but 2-1, I get it. If you look at it just from a stat standpoint, right? A stat standpoint, Saint Denis is much better everywhere from a stat standpoint, and very durable guy. Very hard to finish. And what does Frola do? He wants to catch you with that big shot, right? And he's been doing that. 3-fight win streak. Has some nice wins, right? Moises. Sorry, that's Saint Denis. Saint Denis has some nice wins last couple fights. Moises, Bon Theme, right? 4-fight win streak, right? 4-fight win streak. Saint Denis striking landed per minute much higher, and wrestling advantage and strength advantage, in my opinion. Saint Denis has great durability, like I mentioned, solid chin, and can take a shot, and that's how Frola likes to win the fights. I think he's going to have trouble. Knocking out Saint Denis. So if he's having trouble doing that, I think he's going to have trouble winning this fight. Right? What's up? What people don't talk about as well, Saint Denis submission game is very high level, right? Two of his last 4 wins are by submission. 9 submission wins on his career. He's very well-rounded with a chin. Very scary to fight. I like Saint Denis here. I do like Saint Denis here. It could make a 2-fight parlay for me. I want to shop around for a better number, though. I don't love this number, guys. Frola, like I mentioned, Frola, he's a high-level guy. He fights trains out of New Jersey with Sterling and company over there. He has the power, and he also has the confidence. He's a very confident guy. He goes in there to look, to take off your head. And the problem is Saint Denis is very durable with a good chin. And I think that he could even maybe wrestle, get this fight down on the ground, maybe find a submission at some point in this fight. But, I expect this fight to be a war. We have seen Saint Denis in wars before, and he's come out on top. I don't expect a boring one here, guys. Should be a good fight. I expect Saint Denis to get his hand raised. I'm high on the guy. But Frola, always a guy you can't really count on. I'm not counting him out of this fight. I just see more paths for Saint Denis to win this fight due to the stats, the numbers, and being a little more well-rounded. Sabatini's opening up the main card as a small favorite, -120 versus Lopez, +100. If you guys like volume on the feet, you're not going to get that here. Listen to these numbers. Volume on the feet. Lopez 2.1 and Sabatini 1.9 strikes land per minute. Now, I know a lot of that is because these guys like to be on the ground. A lot of the time these guys are on the ground, right? Grappling. Sabatini likes control time on the ground. Just under 4 takedowns per fight. And likes to control guys on the ground, right? I can see Sabatini doing that again here, right? 33% takedown defense for Lopez. However, Lopez is very dangerous and solid off his back. Very high-level BJJ. We've seen that in multiple fights. We've seen that against Gavin Tucker last time out. We've seen that against Ivalov. He almost submitted Ivalov, right? Guys have success taking him down, but it's scary because Lopez will throw up everything but the kitchen sink. And Sabatini, why I like Sabatini in this fight, never been submitted in his career, and he's a very high-level BJJ guy as well. I have a hard time seeing Lopez catching Sabatini. I just see Sabatini possibly even maybe getting a submission, but getting this fight down to the ground, right, and just smothering him like he does. That's his path here, and I think he does that. On the feet, I guess I would say Lopez is a little better because he does have that KO power. He throws hard. We have seen Sabatini rock before. So keep that in mind. I think Sabatini's not going to want to stand and bang. I don't think it's a big difference on the feet. Sabatini's not great on the feet, though. But I think Sabatini just gets his fight down to the ground. Lopez is not a good wrestler, guys. Terrible takedown defense. And Sabatini should be able to get it there. He's going to have to avoid the submission from Lopez on the ground. Hard to see Lopez getting back-to-back armbar, submissions. He had that against Tucker. Hard to see that here. Again, Sabatini, very high level on the ground, guys. And you're getting him at a decent price at -120. So play will be Sabatini here. Could make my client card this weekend. That will do it, guys. That will do it. UFC 295. Can't get much bigger on Madison Square Garden. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that pay-per-view. NFL video out tomorrow, so look out for that. We're running hot in the NFL. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Take care.